It's been a while since I made a video on Noah, so I thought I would pick up where I left off on Genesis 6:18. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives. And we know that this is referring to the 7 laws of Noah, or the 7 noahide laws, which Hashem does establish with Noah and the entire world in Genesis 6. And I've made videos on how the 7 laws are connected to the 10 commandments in Exodus 20. But when you analyze the story of Noah, you can see that there are hints, or the seeds of the Torah are in there all over the place. You just have to know where to look for them. So let's go through the 10 commandments very quickly, and then we'll show how these are all mentioned as part of the 7 by the sages. Okay, this one's obvious. No other gods besides me. No idolatry. You cannot make them or bow down to them. And you shall not swear falsely by the name of the Lord your God. No blasphemy. And then we have the Sabbath. We've covered this before, and how the Sabbath is mentioned in early Genesis. And then you have some followers of 7 plus mentioned in here. Honor your father and your mother. We've seen that this is also part of the 7, or at least something that Gentiles did, and I'll show you that source again. And you shall not murder, of course, part of the 7, adultery, theft, and you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor, as in court, saying that you saw him do something you didn't do. These are all part of the 7. And then you shall not covet anything in your neighbor's house, anything that belongs to him, his wife, or any of his belongings. And this is also part of the 7, as we can see here. And this is talking about do not covet, and is practiced in every place and at all times by males and females. All people of the world are also obligated about it, since it is a branch of the commandment against theft, which is one of the 7 commandments that all people of the world were commanded. So they're talking about the well-known tally of the 7 commandments of the Noahides. And really, these are just like general principles. They have many details. So, do not covet, part of the 7. And then, do not lust after your fellow man's wife. And then it says, this prohibition was already included in the prohibition to commit adultery. The first 5 commandments, like this is part of the 7, adultery. The first 5 commandments were all in this question, like there being no question of their being necessary. And it says, neither did the commandment not to worship competing deities or idols, or the need not to swear an oath by any other deity, or to observe Shabbat, the Sabbath, seeing that God himself had observed a Sabbath. Nor was there a need to decree to honor one's parents. Every Gentile does so without having been ordered to do so by God. And then it continues. Like, why do these have to be stated? They're already part of everybody's, or these are already known. They are already practiced. And you can see other things like honor your parents. This is from Genesis 9, the famous incident with Noah, where he drinks too much wine, becomes drunk, and he uncovered himself within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and told his 2 brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a cloth, placed it against both their backs, and walked backwards. They covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned the other way, so that they did not see their father's nakedness. Now, is this honoring your parents? Then we have another example where it says in Genesis 7, this is again to Noah, of clean animals which were fit for sacrificial use, and of unclean animals not fit for sacrificial use. You can see where he's saying clean and unclean, which is interesting because this comes up in the Torah other places. And there's a wine reference here. Drink no wine or other intoxicant, you or your sons, when you enter the tent of meeting. And this is a law for all time throughout the ages. And then it says something interesting here. For you must distinguish between the sacred and the profane, and between the unclean and the clean. It's interesting. I've heard people talk about this, how he's saying clean and unclean. This is a reference to Lashon Hara, so evil speech. He doesn't say dirty and clean. He just says unclean. It's a nicer way of saying it. And this is a source on evil speech. He who slanders his friend in secret, I will destroy. I cannot endure the haughty and proud man. My eyes are on the trusty men of the land, to have them at my side. He who follows the way of the blameless shall be in my service. He who deals deceitfully shall not live in my house. He who speaks untruth shall not stand before my eyes. So this is very interesting. He who follows the way of the blameless shall be in my service? Who's the blameless, and what is his way? This is very interesting. This is the line of Noah, Genesis 6. Noah was a righteous man. He was blameless in his age. Noah walked with God. Blameless. Tamim. Noah was the first person to ever be called perfect or blameless.